So, okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm your host, Dave Herndon.
And I'm your host, David Komer.
And we're bringing you another comic review. This is the first one of the New 52 that we've discussed here in the series of video reviews.
The Ravagers,
it's part
from
of
the pages of the Teen Titans.
It's part of the second wave, maybe third wave, depending on how you want to look at it. The second wave had like 2 books in it. It's part of the third wave of the New 52, which doesn't really qualify as 52 anymore because they're into like 70 different books now. But
it's kind of all over the place.
I gotta say,
no question.
I liked the cover. I picked it up because of the cover and it being a #1. It had a really cool concept.
By Howard Mackey, Ian Churchill, and Norm Rapmund.
But I think you speak for both of us, Mr. Komer, when you go into your thoughts.
Well, Dave, like you, and you know, for most of the book, I thought the art was pretty good. The cover was great, and it's a #1. But the problem is, you know, it's bad when the most interesting part of it is a middle-page spread advertising before Watchmen. No matter how you feel about that enterprise by DC, whether it's a money grab or exploring some cool characters that Alan Moore created, one way or another, just knowing what the rest of the covers are going to look like in this series, I was instantly distracted by this because it was let's just say a welcome distraction, because I couldn't stand this anymore. It felt like I was trying to read 5 issues at once. It was just that hard to get through.
Yeah, they're really, the lack of a plot, rather. I was going to say the plot was bad, but
it's almost like a bottle episode in television where everything happens in one place for the entire episode, which oftentimes saves money, or it gives a chance for good writers to show their chops. In this case, everything happens in one location, and you've got basically nothing happening by, you've got trained to be killers, can they become heroes? These kids broken out from experimental science labs where they were tested on and given these powers from the pages of Teen Titans, I believe, #9. One thing I would have liked, you've got that setup and everything, and you've got them talking about it over and over, like a broken record, they talk about it so much. Why not show, Dave, a couple frames of a flashback? Because the whole world did not read Teen Titans #9, so it would be great to at least see a little bit of these tortured souls that we keep hearing about for the entire issue. And and it would be nice, and again, sometimes you'll be reading X-Men, and you already know Wolverine's history. They'll give you they'll sometimes even give you a flashback, couple squares, where you see him being, whatever, implanted with adamantium, what have you. This, you keep getting told they were broken out of a lab by Fairchild, and now she's going to try to help them.
Well,
but you never see anything. Not everyone reads Teen Titans, okay? And so that was just the first problem.
I also have to say, there's 6 characters that the book's going to be based around. Fairchild, obviously, ironically enough, the one in the group that's not a child. She's the adult. And then you have Ridge, who was one of the guards at the prison, but he escaped with them, and somehow he's like the big beast type thing. You've got the brother-sister team of Thunder and Lightning, very original naming there. And then Terra, and
as a fan of Black Lightning, I'm personally incensed by that.
And then you've got Beast Boy, who, first of all, he's red all of a sudden.
It's a ripoff of that's Gar Logan, right? From the Teen Titans, New Teen Titans.
Well, they didn't really and that's even part of the why is Beast Boy red? Check back in the future to find out.
Yeah, and so he and the new Terra are an item, right? Apparently.
Yes, no, maybe. It's really hard to follow. But my problem with it is I have no connection with any of these characters. Beast Boy's the only one I know anything about from other issues. I know very little about him, except he's green. And okay, you want to turn him red for whatever reason? Did he fall in a vat of hair dye? What?
Yeah, that's from the roots of Changeling, right?
Right. But at least explain it. Don't be like, hey, read the next issue to find out why. This is the issue that's supposed to grab us, and the only thing I care about knowing is why he's not green. But I'm willing to wait 4 or 5 months and Google it. I will not be picking up another issue of this rag.
There's so many reasons. Let me count the ways. I guess first of all, though, the characters themselves aren't that interesting. Ridge, I thought, was a terrible character. First of all, I could design a better creature drunk. Second of all, I thought that basically it seemed like he was fighting for control of the group with Fairchild when he's a former guard or worker from the lab, from what I gathered.
Well, she worked in the lab and he was a guard, so they both performed tests and beat these kids.
Yet she kind of paints him as the villain.
And he tries to paint her the same way.
And then at the same time,
the rest of the group is still following the two of them.
And they get chased down by guards from this lab, which, by the way, is creatively called Nowhere as an acronym. N.O.W. And no, it goes on. I cannot make that up. So they're all from nowhere, and apparently they're being chased by guards who also are blamed for the infernal actions at the lab. And so then they get a little beat down because obviously there has to be action somewhere. And you've got a group of people in the middle of nowhere in Alaska yelling at each other and splitting off into little groups of two. Fairchild questioning herself as a leader. And the whole thing is probably the worst jumping off point for a team comic that I've ever seen in my life. Dave, to be honest, like I said, it took me so long to get through this. Even the art, while pretty good, was nothing to write home about. There was a few redeeming qualities, and the best part of it all, I have to stop this now, Fairchild thinks, but every time I do this, I risk losing control. Losing, Loosing. Okay, now we get paid to copy edit, and we catch errors, and we make errors ourselves. But when you're DC, this kind of thing shouldn't happen. So basically, you have a typo in a new title that's got a cool name, a cool cover. It really just chops it off from the knees down right off the bat. You've got quality control issues like that, let alone a shaky storyline. Dave, I couldn't be less impressed, and I really wanted to like it, and it had a cool setup. But it never goes anywhere.
I'm willing to give him a pass on the typo. I'm a writer myself. You make those mistakes.
We all make mistakes, but we don't work in a Manhattan office with 7 layers of readers.
But I'm willing to give him a pass on the typo, but I cannot give him a pass on the poor story, average art, and lack of engagement. I just don't care. I couldn't care less. And
I grew up a DC kid, and I love DC, and I love most of their titles now. But this one just kind of really left me wanting more. But more as in something else, not in terms of the Ravagers.
I gotta give this a rating, and I hate giving very low ratings, but I cannot give this a grade higher than an F.
F it. Our first F.
It's a 0 in my book. There's not a redeeming. The cover redeems it a little bit. If I had to give it a grade on a 1 to 5, it'd be like a half star.
That keeps it from an F minus, perhaps.
If I had to give it a star rating and 1 to 5 stars, it'd be like a half for the cover.
Yeah.
But the rest of the book earns 0 points to me.
I know, and like I said, I wanted to like this. I grew up a big fan of the Teen Titans, of Wolfman and Perez. And I've been following, the events ever since they left the title, and trying to keep up with the New 52. I thought this was a great way of, kind of looking in to see how things are changing in the DC universe. But I tell you, Dave, not a fan.
Well, and I got to tell you, if this is straight from the pages of the Teen Titans graphic novel is one of the ones I was really looking forward to grabbing. But now I'm not so sure I even want to pick that up.
And like I said, what is a 3 or 2 frame flashback hurt? Show us what these kids are running from. Show us why they're all tortured. And, by the way, though, if I were tortured and got superpowers, not a bad give and take. That's why I never understood.
We don't know that they got superpowers because they were tortured.
True that. Well, yeah, because we weren't explained enough. But in any event, like I said, something we really wanted to like, and we're kind of let down on.
There's not really much more I can say.